All right.
Okay, hey everybody. We are here with a longtime friend of mine. This is Scot Rutledge. Scott is the Director of Marketing and Digital Media Services for the Community College of Beaver County. Did I get it right?
You
Or is
did.
it? Yeah, okay.
TBC.
Uh, yeah, the acronyms for community colleges in this part of the state, you have to be really clear on.
Yeah.
It's not BC3, it's CCBC, et cetera, et cetera. So, Scott, where in the heck when and where did we meet? It's been a while.
It has. I'm trying to think. I think it was through Holly, right? Holly McIntosh.
Oh, Holly McIntosh, yeah.
McIntosh. Yeah. And I think it was taxing my memory a bit, but I think it had something to do with J&D Sellers, which is my cousin and
No, no, no,
mom.
no. No,
No?
you are very wrong. Yeah,
Ah.
absolutely. You are absolutely wrong because we met well before the winery started.
Oh, okay. You're gonna have to
We we
remind
met
me.
we had to have met through AIGA.
Yes, AIGA.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
That's
Perhaps.
going way back. Uh,
Yeah.
in fact, I don't know if it was probably right around the time that at least I graduated. And maybe yourself, you couldn't have been more than a year or two out of school at the most. I don't
I
know.
mean,
I
back,
think by the end of the podcast, we'll figure it out.
yeah. Back with AIGA, I mean, I had to be very young in my career,
Right.
very young, probably doing stuff still for free and begging for jobs.
Oh, probably. Yeah. Same here. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much
So,
chance.
well, anyway, we go way back, and thank you for chatting with me about careers in marketing and design. I'm talking. Your feedback will be really useful for students in my marketing class at Pitt that are looking to enter the job market here in a few weeks, as well as my design students at Point Park, who will also be looking for design jobs. And I'm curious, where did you get your start? When did you discover that you wanted to be in design?
It's actually pretty interesting. I did all through high school, beginning of college. I had no idea I wanted to be in design or anything dealing with marketing. I went to school for like 3 4 years, just taking a bunch of history courses and just kind of messing around, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I always really kind of had a passion to learn Photoshop
Mm,
just to make whatever I could make out of it. I always really liked drawing. But then when I first got my first version of Photoshop, um, I just fell so deep into it and started making all kinds of different invitations and posters and band posters. And I thought, maybe there is something more to this than just kind of messing around with one program. So I
right.
ended up going to Robert Morris. I transferred to Robert Morris for their design program. And I remember thinking like half the kids in the room that I was going to school with were like, I've been doing it since high school and I just started.
Right.
And I really pushed to learn the softwares and the techniques. And I found my own voice very quickly. And I loved every minute of it. I took so many classes. I think I was one class away from my BFA when I eventually did graduate. My faculty advisor kind of advised me not to do it because it would hurt my portfolio. I still kick myself that I didn't do it, but at the same time, I kind of understood like I need to get moving on this because I've been in
Mm,
school for so long. And then my first job, my first design job was for Sweetwater Center of the Arts in Swickley, and I would walk from my apartment down, and I would do marketing coordinating and graphic design for them. I did it for about a year, and I
mhm.
just loved every minute of it. So that was my start.
Okay. What year did you graduate?
Oh, 2013, 2013,
Really?
I think.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, let me fact check
No.
myself because I just graduated with my master's degree, and that's the date that's sticking with me right now. Undergrad though, hold on. I will
Oh,
tell you.
we're going to do some live action detective work right now. Let's see if I'll beat you to it.
Probably not. Let's see. I graduated from my undergrad, which is something I should know. 2009. No.
2009. Okay.
2009,
Yeah.
not 13. Something
Yeah.
happened in 2013 that was important.
See, the timeline makes sense now. So I graduated in '07. So I was a few years ahead of you in respect to that. So I was also on the board of the AIGA at that time. And that's how we got connected. It was
There we
probably through the
go.
portfolio show. Yeah.
That makes sense. I still remember my card when I got in. It was hot pink. And I thought it was so cool.
Right.
I was like, I'm an AIGA. And I think at that time, I'd won a Franklin Printing Excellence Award. So like I got to go to Philly and receive an award for it. And I remember like carrying that card and being like, yeah, I'm so cool.
Oh man, so fresh-faced and bright-eyed when you start your career, right?
Oh yeah.
So you started your career in education basically, and so you were working for Sweetwater, and what happened after that? Is that when you got on board at CCBC?
Yeah, so I'd been working for Sweetwater for a little while, building catalogs and managing their social media and going through their web work, and it was good. I really enjoyed it. It started as an unpaid internship, to which I think lasted about 2 weeks before they put me on payroll.
Nice.
And I had gotten word from, I can't remember who it was, but they had said that CCBC was looking for a full-time designer. So I applied to it, and at the time I was wearing a lot of bow ties. So I had made like this origami bow tie that had a QR code in the center. And when I got called in, I think they were just completely blown away that one, I was using origami, and two, that I was using QR code. And looking back on it, I was like, man, that's crazy. That worked. But I landed the job, and I started working there as their designer. And what an eye opener that was. I mean, I just was taking on things that I never thought I would take on. Working in education's very, very different. Actually, I never thought I would. But I was only there for about 2 years before the alma mater, Robert Morris, called me back. They had a position that dealt sort of with social media, a lot with web. And I remember Jonathan Potts talking to him and him offering me the job there. And I went and worked for them for like about a year and a half, 2 years, to which then CCBC called me, and I was kind of talking to them back and forth, and they're like, we want you to come back. You know, that you left a gap here, and we want you to come back. So I went back as their digital manager for about 2 months before I was put to marketing director, and been doing that since.
That's great, man. You know, it's such a wonderful thing to be in a bidding war, basically, between two entities. You know, it speaks to your capabilities as a designer and as a marketing creative, but also just as a person. You know, like I'm glad that CCBC felt the gap, you know, and the impact that you left. So, you know, Robert Morris's loss is their gain times two.
They've tried a little bit to kind of push me back into RMU, and I do. I mean, I love the place, but at the same time, there's something to be said about working at CCBC. The students there are first generation. There's not a huge, massive budget. There's not all the luxury of a big marketing firm, but you see the impact you make every day. So it could be as simple as something happening right now with coronavirus. Those students are really hit hard, and the messaging we're putting about you know, we care. Here's some stress reducing tips, and you know, we just finished a paper doll cutout for kids, for students that have kids that they're trying to study online for the first time ever, and they have kids in there. So these little paper doll cutouts that you can cut out and kind of change the clothes with the different majors that we have. I mean, just cool. Really, I mean, it's just like I would never get to do that anywhere else. So it's fun.
Yeah, and it's a good thing when you find your tribe, you find your people and your position in the marketplace. And so, like, my business partner Kent, he's spent a very long time teaching at BC3, and one of the things that he found is like the community college people. These are my people. This is where I feel like I belong the most versus at other institutions. I mean, he's taught at YSU. He's teaching with me now at Point Park, but like that's kind of his sweet spot is the community college aspect, and I really appreciate that to the reasons that you just said. Like, it's a bit smaller scale, and you kind of have to innovate with what you got.
Yeah.
And the student impact is very profound. First generation students, they have a lot of struggles. And to help them through that process and to see them succeed is extremely rewarding.
It is. Commencement is one of those times that I know at RMU it was not required from the marketing department to attend. We just didn't have to where our commencement at CCBC, I'm like behind the scenes calling all the cues for the company that's running lights and sound.
Right.
Making sure the live stream's hitting, watching the students' families pour in conversations and trying to respond to them. And it's not your traditional commencement where it's very staunch and name and nice claps like this. They're shooting confetti out. They're screaming. They're just so happy that somebody from their family is achieving this goal. And I think the coolest thing is that's not the end.
Right.
Graduating from a community college isn't the end. This is just the beginning. And,
exactly. Yeah.
There's so much that they can do. It's just really cool. It's different.
I was talking with Tim Rodman, who went to Pittsburgh Technical College. And I was talking to him about those that are on a 2-year academic career track. So they're pursuing associate degrees, basically. And I was telling him about my perception on the difference between those that get the 2-year degree and those that get the 4 and those that get both, right? Mm-hmm. So I found that on the 2-year track, they're very technologically capable. They know the software and multiple applications, but they might be a little lighter on the concept side, right?
Right.
And then on the 4-year side, they're much more conceptual because they've also had more time to mature. But I found that on the 4-year side, they're a bit lacking in the software skills, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go to an associate program and then you merge into a 4-year program, that's like one step forward becoming that mythical unicorn, right?
Right. Oh yeah. Totally.
And so like in your case, like you run a small shop at a small institution, you kind of have to be that unicorn.
Yeah.
So how did you learn the additional skills you needed in order to thrive in your position?
Well, yeah, I mean, so I started, just print design, graphics, setting things up to send to a printer, a little bit with converting things for web. And as stuff started progressing, I saw open doors to where some of the skill sets I didn't have yet were really lacking. So one of them was just coding in general.
Yeah.
I started building websites for CCBC on the side, and then that opened up this whole like freelance thing that I was doing where I'd get messages for sites and I just start building things. I literally had one class in HTML. That was it. I didn't know anything about it. It was very intimidating to me at the beginning, to where this last CCBC just launched their new website, and I hired out a private developer to do some of the ugly back-end work that's very skilled.
That no one wants to do either.
No one wants to do. But I mean, pretty much from start to finish in all of the areas, I was able to guide the college through that process. And if had I not been there, I mean, they would have hired somebody to do it, but it might not have been the product that they wanted. Mm-hmm. So I was able to do that. And then like video was not something that I really had much passion in up until maybe 2 years ago. I started with a little GoPro camera, and I was doing some little promotional work for CCBC, and in which case it kind of grew a little bit. And then we found this old Sony production camera that for whatever reason would put some weird file format when you'd export it. And it was just a huge hassle. But then we got some new gear, some new equipment, and now I'm building production that like would rival hiring a production agency,
Right.
just based off the fact that like there was a need, and I had fun with it, and learning it really wasn't that complicated, only because I was having fun, and
Right.
I knew that no matter what I did, it was going to make an impact because it wasn't
Yeah.
existing. So I think those skill gaps, you just kind of, they're not right in front of you screaming like, hey, you need to learn to do this because it's going to benefit your career. It's more of like I wish we had something like that. And at that moment, that's when you realize I need to learn how to do this, because no one's going to come to me and say, you don't look like you're busy enough. Can you learn this? You're always going to be busy. You just look for those little moments and you go, no, I'm going to learn how to do that. So when I do get into a conversation with somebody that does know a lot about it, I know the types of questions I need to ask, and I know how to hold that conversation, and I know how to, move my career forward.
And yeah, so necessity is pushing you to learn new skills and develop those out. And that's just how it is. And then sometimes you got to say no to other things that are on your plate. You have to prioritize. And especially when like you're in your first job, your entry level, like you don't necessarily have that
Ability,
opportunity or impulse or even capabilities to do it. So that's great to hear. I know that like with skill development and building this better version of yourself in order to get the job or the career that you want is something that I think all of we all deal with, especially as creatives. I mean, I'm always thinking about like the next thing I can make or improve on just to keep leveling up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exhausting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So you've got this career in higher ed, and really your whole career is defined by education. And you found your sweet spot. So what kind of freelance work are you doing on the side? What interests you?
So freelance work, my wife owns her own business. She makes children's plushes, and she tries to do some clothing. She's just phenomenal. She has a degree in fashion design from FIT. So a lot of freelance work goes into her web stuff, but then I get some track work from trying to not name them because I know I'm not allowed to, from environmental firms. Sometimes they'll send me some spec work that needs to be done that just they can't get done in house. And then there's some medical businesses across the seas that are asking for some assistance as well. And those industries, it's really interesting because they've got all the money. They've got all the money they need, but for whatever reason, they don't have the talent in house. It's just something that they want really bad, but they just don't have it there. And to get on one of those calls and just say, XYZ is what you need to accomplish, and I can do this for you in this time frame, and then produce that in that time frame. The calls back are, well, we were using this agency, and they took 6 months to get what you've done in 3 weeks. And it's like, well, I mean, you're dealing with a bunch of people in overhead, and maybe they would do it better, maybe they wouldn't. But at the same time, you're going to get an honest answer out of me. You're going to get an honest product. You own it. So if you don't like it, you can take it and give it to somebody else, and they'll have all the stuff they need. It's just how I run my freelance. I think it's important.
Yeah. And that's also a place where you can develop some of those skills in a practical way that would cross over into your day job.
Yeah. I mean, so CCBC has one of the top rated nursing facilities. They have I'm going to butcher this, 100% NCLEX pass rate, I think. Look it up if I'm wrong. It's either 92 or 100%.
It's high.
It's high. But when I work with the medical company on the whole, privacy issues and things like that, I never gave two thoughts about that. I thought, well, don't tell anybody your social security number and you're pretty set.
Yeah.
But some of the level of things that they have to think about, some of the calls that I get on, a really funny one is I get on this call with this medical group, and I'm making dinner because we missed the call. And I'm on the call, I'm mixing spaghetti, and immediately this guy goes, "I got to get off the phone," and he hangs up. And about 20 minutes later, I get another call from my contact. And he goes, "Hey, I didn't want to freak you out, but you were talking to the top neurosurgeon in the country, and he got called into surgery immediately."
Wow.
I was like, "What?" Like, I didn't even know that's who I was talking to. And they're like, "Well, we didn't tell you on purpose because we didn't want you to freak out." Like, now you did? Like, it's just interesting. It's interesting because you never know who you're going to be dealing with. You never know what their agenda is or what their needs are.
Right.
I always just kind of put it in. I'm going to be honest, and if I'm not the right person to do it, I'll point you to somebody that will.
Mm-hmm.
So
switching gears here, I'm curious how the coronavirus outbreak has disrupted your work and the learning at CCBC. How are you guys adapting to this massive pivot?
Yeah. Well, CCBC, we were a little late to the game of online. There are some programs that they had online. There wasn't really full programs online. So within 24 hours to 48 hours, a switch had to be flipped and we had to go. So I was making a lot of tutorial videos on how to use Microsoft Teams, how to leverage Blackboard, how to help people that really never go into those environments start figuring out how to use those environments. And then from my job side, it's interesting. I'm just as busy as I've always been, but the day-to-day has shifted. So now you really have to start thinking of where are people's minds at and how are they feeling right now? And, telling them that they should enroll in college. Yeah, you should. It's gonna make your future better and you'll earn a family sustaining wage. But when there's so much uncertainty and you just don't know, and you don't know what tomorrow is going to be, how do you let people know that a community college above all is the community's college, and there are assets there that, we're not enrolling you into a program, but we have ways for you to get food. We have ways for you to speak to somebody if you're feeling anxious. So those are the types of things that we started really kind of reworking in our message and in our graphics and putting out there. So now we're getting into like maybe 3 weeks on this remote and trying to like weed back in. Hey, you still have to enroll and we still need to move forward as a society and as a community. So it's a very delicate balance that you have to do because people get offended. They get offended so quickly. And
over anything, but
anything. And that's human nature. And part of going into one of these fields is that you have that empathy,
right?
Have that understanding. You watch things and you have emotion. People that don't have emotion when they watch or read things, you kind of question, how do you know how people feel if you don't have feelings yourself?
Right.
It is. I mean, it's tough. It's we're moving forward and we're doing everything that we can. I'm set up in my home, which is great because I have an hour and a half to sleep. But I think coming out of this, I'm personally going to have so much more skill on crisis communication, on balancing work life. I mean, I have 2 kids in the house and a family that need attention, and I'm still managing to do what I have to do and be there for people that are firing off questions late at night because they're just as important.
Absolutely. And it's a very delicate balancing act, and we're all trying to figure it out and acclimate and adjust. And even though in the long run we'll all be better for this experience because we'll know to what extent we can stretch. I think we'll have a redefinition of our limits. It still does not make the adjustment any easier, knowing that we'll be better and we'll at the end of it. Yeah. So to your point, like I've got a family here and they need a lot of attention and care, and So that adds to the busyness because you can't really escape your job. So it's like some people are joking, especially right now, like it'll be Saturday, right? And people are like, all right, well, time to start the work week. Because like it's just, it all blends together. We can't leave the house, right?
Right.
So I guarantee you, like, you know, usually I try to lock down my work on the weekends. So, you know, if I have to do anything, I do it before the family really wakes up and gets into gear. But, you know, tomorrow I'll just be like, well, can't go anywhere. Might as well practice something or work on something to offset the busyness during the actual 40-hour work week.
Yeah, let me answer a couple of those emails, and then 2 hours later.
And then 2 hours later, yeah. And so it's very surreal. You know, I had made the comment to my wife the other day of how like I've been kind of ignoring the news. I'm just oversaturated. You and I both live on social media all day. We see it constantly. When my wife would say like, so hey RJ, did you see this thing? I'm like, yep. She's like, you don't even know what I was going to say. I'm like, I already know. I saw it. I see everything.
In some capacity.
So I've been turning it off, and I made the comment to her. I'm like, you know, I actually haven't seen any photos of like what the coronavirus outbreak looks like in other countries or other states. Like I couldn't describe to you what an overpacked ICU looks like. I have no idea. No. It's like, it hasn't, I mean, it's very strange that how it hasn't hit me, right?
It is. Yeah, it is.
So
stories.
We're in these really privileged lockdown, you know, situations. And so I had to take some time and actually read some articles and look at photos and be like, this is a real thing. It's really happening. Mm-hmm. And really try to understand the empathy and the human centeredness of that. Yeah. And it like bothered me for the rest of the day.
Well, that's being that creative side, you know. You internalize it and you don't turn it off. I mean,
right?
Don't. And yeah, I mean, it is important in this profession to learn those soft skills to be able to manage your emotion and manage your busy schedules, and it is something I struggle with. I will continue to struggle with, but it's something that I know is extremely important, is to know that like. I think it was like 2 days ago, you know, everything was really hectic and really moving forward. And I kept thinking like, I just want to finish this one project. Like, why can't I get this done?
Right.
And then it dawned on me. It was like, I have a job, you know, like it might not always be the most glamorous thing. It might not always be what I want to do, but I have a job. And there are people out there that have just lost the jobs. Mm-hmm. They're so uncertain. I like you said, I'm very fortunate to be positioned with a very caring institution that even when they do have to make difficult decisions, they don't make them quickly. Right. They have to keep from the smallest staff up to the toppest staff. They really kind of keep you all in mind. So I am lucky in that sense.
And, you know, those decisions have to be informed and they need time to bake. You know, you can't just, you got to really think on things. And so, you know, not to cut you off, but switching gears here for a minute. So we have students collectively, between the two of us, we have students that are entering an unstable economy. You know, jobs might be a little bit hard to find as soon as graduation hits. What are your recommendations for soon-to-be graduates in marketing and design?
You know, consider this as a challenge, because you will find your fit. It's going to take some time, and it would have taken time even if it wasn't a good climate to be getting a job into. Right. So with that, back to what I said about skill sets, you may have in your head that you want to be at the marketing agency. You want to be at Gatesman and Dave. You want to be at Bruner. Be open to what's out there. Whenever I graduated with a design degree, I thought for sure I was going to be in this agency life, living the whole Mad Men thing, and this romantic idea.
Everyone thinks that.
Everyone thinks that.
Yeah.
And then, I kind of was working towards that feeling. And then it dawned on me about 2 years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I was sitting in my house and I was thinking, my job has provided me with so much. And if you'd asked me when I was graduating college if that's what I would be doing, I would have never in a million years said that's what I'd be doing.
Mhm.
But I get so much fulfillment out of it. So when you're coming out during one of the hardest times and there's so much uncertainty, there's one thing you can be certain of, is it's your skill set. So
Right.
go out there and use your skill set, because there's nobody else out there with the same voice, the same look, the same style as you.
Right.
There are people that want you. And even if you hear, and this is one of the ones that I reminded of, and I can't remember who said it, but even if you apply to a job and they say no, it's not no to you. It's no, not right now.
Right.
So, there will be a yes, but just keep pushing.
Absolutely. That's actually really great advice. Be dogged, be determined. It's okay if you get shot down, you have to fail forward. And in some cases, like, you find out very quickly what you don't like and what you do like.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's telling of both of our respective careers that, like, I spent some time in agency life, and I realized that it wasn't for me, which is ironic because I then went on to create an agency, like times 3, right? So like there was something there that appealed to it. And I think it was like the variable nature of the client base. You get to learn a little about a lot, right? But one of the things that I'm finding is that you may have more career success if you look at the atypical spaces between the stereotypical design jobs. So it's like, here's Gaisman, here's Bruner, here's Mark USA, etc. Look in between, it's like, oh, well, you could be an in-house designer for 84 Lumber. You could be an in-house designer for
Bayer,
or Bayer or Bombardier, or you could teach at a college, or not teach, but run marketing in a college or something like that. And there are great benefits with that.
Crazy.
Yeah. And like one guy I was talking to, he decided to go right into manufacturing. And in fact, their marketing and design jobs are really needed in those manufacturing industries.
Oh,
because
yes.
they
Engineers cannot think beyond.
They can't communicate at all, right?
No,
yeah.
no.
So like there's tons of opportunity.
Love engineers, but man, you get them in a room, you're like, do you have a pulse? What's going on?
Right. Stop speaking science and math.
Yeah,
Let's add some empathy and human centeredness to the conversation. Yeah. So like your students, they may find that they get snapped up pretty quickly if they're open to jobs in those industries, which is exciting.
And after all this, after we go through this difficult time, businesses more than ever are going to need somebody that's good at copy, that's somebody that's good at building websites, and because they're going to be building back from square one. I mean, you got your Apple that has billions of dollars in the bank. Sure, they're fine. But there's a lot of mid-level businesses that are going to need those skill sets and pay top dollar for them.
Well, the last thing I got to say is thank you for your time in talking with me. We'll do this again, hopefully sometime soon. If students are interested in reaching out to you, learning more about your career and learning more about how to break into marketing design on the higher ed scene, how can they get a hold of you? How can they find you?
Sure. You definitely can shoot me an email at it's Scot, SCOT.Rutledge, RUTLEDGE at ccbc.edu. I'm on LinkedIn, which is for, old folks, I guess.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. And Instagram as Mr. Doo, MRDOOH. And I would say Facebook, but who's really on Facebook anymore?
This guy, I'm using it constantly.
I'm still on it, but it's just.
In fact, that's the only way I talk to you, right?
That is true. That is true. So yeah, hit me up on Facebook because I'm there talking to RJ.
Yep. That's what we'll be doing at any given time.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you.